whole time.
Hello, this is One Broadway. This is Performers on Performing. I am your host, Amanda Vantine, and I am joined by the lovely Anna Smyrk and Adrianna Noone. Hello. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Both musicians, obviously. We do this segment to try to talk to other musicians about, their kind of come up, what their experience is, songwriting, traveling, playing live shows, pretty much anything that comes along with the journey itself. So if you want to start with a little bit about yourself, just where you're from, kind of your musical upbringing, where you started, what got you interested.
So I'm Anna Smyrk. I'm from Melbourne, Australia. So I'm a little ways from home at the moment. I make kind of indie pop music, I guess you would call it. Your favorite genre.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I think it's my favorite genre too. I'm a singer and a guitarist, and I guess I started playing music when I was really little, learned a bunch of different instruments, did kind of the classical music orchestra thing.
Oh, nice.
And then started writing songs as a as a teenager, and kind of just fell in love with it and never really stopped. So,
Yeah.
here we are.
What instruments did you play?
My first instrument was the violin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I got really obsessed with the violin when I was like 8. I don't really know how that happened. I don't think I'd ever seen a violin in real life, but I really, really wanted to play it. So, my parents got me this like tiny little half-size violin, and I started having lessons, and I really loved it. And I, played all through school. And
oh, nice.
and then I played the piano for a while. And I think, when I started to just like pick up the guitar, and I didn't really take lessons or anything at the time, and I guess maybe it was a little bit more free than the very structured kind of classical training.
How do you find that affects your music? Because I started without lessons and then couldn't support the songs I was writing the way I wanted to, so then I took lessons, but I liked having that kind of free-form background in the beginning. Do you find that helps your music at all?
I think, yeah, I think there's something about, like, I don't really think of myself as a guitarist, I guess, it's not something I've trained in. And maybe there's something about like being approaching the instrument a little bit naively that helps you to not overthink things.
Yeah, there's no structure that's driving you to do it in this specific way.
You haven't you haven't got that muscle memory of this is how things go on this instrument. So you're kind of not so defined in that way. Yeah,
that's amazing. Awesome. Adrianna, where are you from? How did music come into your life?
I'm from Rochester, New York.
Very cool.
And I don't know. I really, when I was young, like maybe 3 or whatever, I think it was 3, I saw American Idol. And I really wanted to be on American Idol so bad. And I really thought at 4, I was like, so I can audition like next year then or something? Yeah, I'm like, obviously.
Put me in coach.
Youngest idol ever?
Yeah.
Question mark.
Come on. Really? But yeah, so I watched that show, and I don't know. I don't even know if I think I sang along a lot to Beauty and the Beast. I know that. And I would give like my entire family a role. Like they each were a character.
They're like, we didn't sign up for this. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't care.
And
I
like,
don't care.
Dad, you're Chip. And I was always Belle.
Obviously.
So yeah, I don't know. I always sang along to that, and then I saw that you could like actually sing on stage, and I was like, that's what I will do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never. I don't know. It was just always like an interest of mine. And I was never good at sports, so that never derailed my dream. And then I started doing musical theater in school and like chorus, of course. But then I just started getting into voice lessons and figured out ways to play out open mics and stuff.
Yeah.
And then I tried to find a band. I kept trying.
Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, and that's kind of when I started to try to learn how to play guitar and piano, because I'm like, if ever there was like a time where I could just get up on a stage somewhere, or it was last minute, like a last minute gig, I could do it rather than have to be like, hang on, let me see if I can.
Let me text my
find
friend and see if he's
so-and-so.
free. Yeah.
And they never are.
Yeah.
Never
So
are.
is that the instruments you play, guitar and piano?
Yeah.
Nice.
And like enough to get by is what I always say. I'm like, enough to get by.
Yeah.
I always prefer having my band with me because it's just way better. But yeah, enough to get by.
I would agree. Bands add a completely different element to the sound where it's like really playing, like Alex and I will do duo gigs and it's great. But when we have the drummer, I never want to play without a drummer.
I know,
when we play without a drummer, I'm like, do we have rhythm? Have we heard of that before?
Yeah. What is time?
Like,
I'm always bad. I'm always like, shit. Scrap.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't ask if we can swear. Anyway, hopefully they'll catch that. But yeah.
No, that's great.
So
yeah, very similar upbringing of mine as well. Just like music as a kid and was like, I want to do that forever. And then you just kind of fall into it. Did you find an age where you started writing? How do you write? What is the process? Is it like a poetry that becomes a song or an experience that like inspires?
Well, I started writing songs, I think I was maybe 13 or 14.
Okay.
And I'm, terrible, angsty teenage songs.
Love it.
But I just fell in love with the process of, transmitting an experience or an emotion in this way, capturing it in this way. These days, I guess the process, it varies a little, but usually, I really love to craft the lyrics in my songs, and I'll always be like making notes in my phone because little ideas will pop up from stuff.
Voice memos.
Yeah.
I've got 15-second
Oh my
clips.
gosh,
It's like,
so
what are you
many.
gonna do with that?
Yeah.
In 2 years, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's good.
Should have listened. But yeah, lots of like little lyric ideas from stuff I'm reading or stuff I hear around or just stuff that pops into my head. And then when I'm sitting down to write a song, usually I'll get some kind of like, little melodic idea or chord progression idea. And either it'll kind of, some kind of lyric idea will spontaneously come up, or if it doesn't, I'll go back and look at all those notes I've been writing and be like, oh, that was an interesting thought. Maybe I can see how this fits with this thing I'm playing.
I love listening to everyone's different writing styles too, because I read in an article one time, Alanis Morissette never takes more than one attempt to write a song. If she sits down, she writes the whole thing. If it doesn't come out in one go, that's it. I'm like,
wow.
I've had songs that I've worked on for 5 years.
Me
and
too.
I still hate them.
It takes me so long to finish a song. So.
And a lot of times, like you said, like maybe a lyric comes, or maybe you read something that inspires something, or it kind of comes so differently person to person and song to song too.
Absolutely,
so depending on what experience or emotion evoked it. So that's really cool. What about yourself?
I try to just let it come to me usually. Like I can't really sit down and say, okay, I'm gonna write a song today.
Too much pressure.
Yeah. I mean, I've tried to just like sit down and just like strum or something, but even then I'm like still limited to like the chords that I don't know. So sometimes I sit there and I'm like, if something like sounds fun, I'll be like, ooh, and I'll try a little ooh or something. But I think I usually start with most of the time writing. And I have so many songs that I was saying earlier are like half songs, and then I'll just kind of stop, and then I'll try to piece two together. So I try to do that sometimes.
I should try that, actually.
Yeah.
Got a lot of halvesies going on.
Yeah, same. And sometimes I'll be like, this is ridiculous. And so I'll go through like my notes or something. And I'll be like, okay, that could go with this, or that could go into this part. But yeah, there's a lot of voice memos too. Like I feel like I've had times when I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, I reach for the phone, I'm like, I go back to it in the morning, I'm like, what? That was not an original idea. I'm like, I woke up.
The witching
to
hour.
Record that. I'm like, that's embarrassing.
I had this brilliant idea. And you wake up in the morning.
Seriously.
But so many different things can strike inspiration too. Is there anything specifically that you find yourself gravitating towards when you're writing, or is there an author that you read that makes you want to write, or movies even? Is there any sort of medium that really empowers you to write something?
I always find I write a lot when I'm traveling.
Oh, yeah,
I think there's something about like being outside of your comfort zone that makes me really reflect a lot on my life, and makes me maybe more aware of like my thoughts and what's going on around me and that kind of thing. So I think I think travel has been a huge part of my songwriting, and a lot of my songs are about traveling. I think as a result.
Yeah. Which is exciting too, because it's something new every time. So every song, even if it's about traveling, it's a different
can be
place.
totally
it's a different time in your
Yeah,
life.
for
Yeah,
sure.
that's
And the
amazing.
experience of traveling is so varied. You know, sometimes it's super exciting and energizing, and sometimes it's like hard and you're homesick and
Tiring.
it's tiring.
Yeah,
exactly. So
definitely.
there's a lot to draw from there, I guess.
Yeah. What about you? Is there any elements that kind of you find repeating themselves in your music in different ways?
Yeah, I write a lot of songs about a lot of sad songs about heartbreak. So, and sometimes even I'm like, oh, God, is this the same? Is it saying the same thing? But I'm like, it's a different melody, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I write a lot from there. I feel like I don't know, nothing ever really comes to me as naturally as when I'm feeling sad, and when I really have the time to like sit and put it out there. But yeah, that's kind of like I think my theme, I guess, that I would do best at naturally. I've tried to like write a happy song, and I'm like,
I
oh,
was just about to
God.
ask that. Why can I write a sad song and literally it comes out no problem? But if I try to write something that's even remotely empowering or uplifting, it sounds corny and the melody's cheesy and I hate it.
And I'm like, days and sun rays. And I'm like,
what is this? Yeah.
Did I mention birds?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I did. All right.
Chirp
Just
in
wanted
morning coffee. I'm like, well, and then I'm like, hey, not that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, that comes to me most easily.
That's amazing though. I feel like there's so many elements, especially with being a traveling musician too. There's so many elements that can be brought in outside of, like you said, your normal comfort zone or where, you know, your normal daily habits and things that you do. So yeah, did you want to introduce a song for us to show?
Sure. So I think the first song we're going to hear from me is a song called Human Condition. And it's a little bit of an anomaly for me in terms of songwriting process because like we were all just saying, I've got a lot of half songs. Songs normally take me like a really long time to write. I'll do like tons of revisions and keep coming back to it. But this was one that really just like fell out, you know, like I've always heard songwriters talking about like sitting down and writing a song in half an hour. And I've always kind of been like, no way, that can never happen. But this actually did happen this time, that I pretty much wrote the song in, you know, less than an hour. It was a pandemic song, I guess. It was a song about it's a
lot of good music.
I think
I'll say that much.
Really. We're talking about, you know, drawing from misery. You know, that was a rich pool to draw from. It was a song. I guess it's more broadly though about like connection and how it's really, I think, making a lot of us, you know, quite unwell, the way that it's so hard to build community and connection for so many of us. So this is a song that's sort of about how that's no good.
That's epic.
Old friend, what's up with you? Your eyes a darker shade of blue. Your skin is thin, I see the veins right through. Good God, you're standing there in last night's clothes, no underwear. Your fingers bleed from picking at the such a long time, such a long time, such a long time. Still nobody comes. Such a small world, 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 such a small world. I can't find no one, no one. You say there's nothing good and nothing bad. There's just what you take and what you're given. Oh, you say, so what if I'm feeling sad? This loneliness is just a part of living. Oh, you say, don't you look at me like that? It's the way it is and there's no use of wishing. Oh, you say, yeah, no shit, you're feeling sad. It's the loneliness, just a human condition. It's the loneliness, it's just a part of living.
I was going to ask you too how songs relate to your instrument. Do you find that if you're writing a song, you reach for a certain instrument first and then one after? Or if you're writing a song, can you hear what instrument you're feeling on it? How does that work?
You know, it's a little bit random, I guess, which one I start on. I guess usually I would start on guitar because that's probably the instrument I'm more comfortable with these days. But what I'll often do is if I get a little bit stuck with a song, I'll switch to the other instrument. I'll switch to piano. And sometimes that like unlocks a little bit, you know, when I'm, you know, where I'm going with the song. Or, you know, I'll just try it with a different feel that's sort of possible on that instrument that might not be so easy on the guitar.
Yeah.
So I guess that's how it usually works for me.
That's awesome. And you say you play with a full band. Do you find that that affects your ability to write a song? Do you write with your band at all?
I don't write with the band. No, I feel like I can only ever really focus on writing if I'm like by myself and I have the time to like try the same thing out a million times or like.
It's so deeply vulnerable sometimes, the process too. You don't want to be sharing that with someone else. You know? Yeah.
So I'll try to, you know, like kind of come up with different words and stuff and sing the same line a million times. So I like to keep that private.
Yep.
Because it can be embarrassing. But yeah, you know, when I bring them songs, I always say that I feel like it makes it a million times better because it just adds so much. And they'll always be like, okay, well, what do you hear on it? I'm like, no. I'm like, you are the master.
I don't play bass. That's your job.
Right. I'm like, you, sir, know how to play that. I do not.
Yeah.
I said, it's whatever you hear. So, which I think is kind of, you know, nice. I like to hear other people's ideas.
Sure. And it's always going to be something you probably wouldn't have thought of because you don't play that instrument. I experience the same thing. I'm like, I don't hear any of it. It's not in there. I hear the piano part. That's it. So
I know.
Yeah.
I see like artists too who are like, okay, then you over here, like you give me some of this. I'm like, how the heck?
Where'd you get that? What is this?
I know, it's like School of Rock. Like it's like you on this. I'm like, how does anybody hear that? Is everybody else hearing this and I'm not hearing this? But yeah, I mean, and then I, you know, same thing. Like I'll find myself, like I'll try to go to the piano. I can do change chords faster at the piano than I can on guitar. So I'll go to that for that. But yeah, I don't know. And another thing I tried to do too recently was trying to write like after watching a certain movie or show and watch as though I'm like writing for that movie or show.
Oh, that's a fun writing exercise.
Yes. And it kind of worked. I mean, at least one time it kind of worked. But
what was the show or the movie?
It was, okay, it's kind of like American Horror Story.
Okay.
But it's called like Channel 1, I think.
Don't know it.
Come on.
Oh.
Okay. Ooh. It was on Sci-Fi, the Sci-Fi Network.
Oh, okay.
And it was the most bizarre show I've ever seen. Like every season was a different story.
Okay.
And one season was like real creepy with this like puppety doll clown looking thing that was huge. Anyway, I don't know what happened to the show. There's only like 4 seasons. If you're out there, please make more. But this one season was like about this house that just popped up in the neighborhood. And so these kids like go in, but there's like all these different rooms, and it was almost like escape roomy, but like creepier. I don't know. It was very bizarre. But anyhoodle,
That's a phrase I've learned since I've
Yeah.
come over here.
It's a quick way to get me out of.
I'm bringing that back home with me.
You should. It's a quick way to get me out of whatever tangent I've gone on. I'm like, anyway, but yeah, so I wrote a song kind of like for that, but
That's a fun idea.
That's a really eccentric idea, though. That's a fun writing exercise, too. I used to do an open mic with Max, who I've co-hosted the show before, and there was a point during the pandemic where we couldn't do live shows, we couldn't do the open mic in person, so we were doing it over Zoom, and we would do like writing challenges where every week it would be like, oh, you have to write a song in the style of like a 70s disco jam or like a 90s punk song, and it was really hard for me because all my songs sound the same. So I was like, but it was a fun way to try to get out of my own comfort zones and writing style. And, I still try to do that. Doesn't go well, but I still try just as an exercise to like broaden my vocabulary and find different rhythms. And my brother is an amazing guitar player, bass player, producer. And he said he will listen to any genre of music, anything and everything. He loves Taylor Swift. He loves death metal. And he said it's like all because he can hear something in it that he does like, even if he's not a huge fan of the song itself or the artist, and he could take that and transfer it. So that's kind of my goal with that. It's not as easy for me as it is for him, but it's still cool.
It's a great idea.
He's kind of a lone wolf. So have you ever played with a band? Do you play with
bands?
Okay,
I normally
cool.
play with
Tell
a
us
band
about your
back
band.
home. So I'm doing a run of solo shows at the moment, but then I'm actually bringing my band over for the last part of the tour.
Lovely.
I'm going to be playing a couple of festivals. So I normally play with drums and bass, and the bass player also plays keys, so she kind of switches between those two, and then the fourth member of the band switches between guitar and violin. So there's like 4 of us, but like a bunch of different instruments going on.
Great way to change up the sound too.
Yeah,
that's so awesome.
I'm really lucky to have those guys that do lots of things really well. And same as what you've been saying, it's really interesting to bring songs to the band. Like I normally do have an idea of what I want to happen, and sometimes I've actually recorded some of these songs previously, working with a producer and like a session band, or the producers played a bunch on the record, or I've played a bunch of different things on the record. So I've got like a basis to work from, but it's really different bringing it into that kind of live arrangement. And it's always so cool to see what these different brains bring to the table.
Bring to life. Yeah.
Bring out
how did you find your band members? I love these kinds of stories. How did you find these people? Or did they find you?
Yeah, good question. I've been playing with these guys for a while back home, and sometimes I play with different people when I'm traveling overseas. But this band back home, the guy that plays violin and guitar, I like fangirled him a little bit because he plays in another band that I really love, that I kind of like listened to a lot when I was like starting out. And I kind of met him at a show where he was playing with someone else's band one day, and then like kind of asked him if he maybe might like to play with me one day, and he was into it, so that was cool. And then the drummer and the bass player, I think I just met around the scene in Melbourne. It's a really great music scene in Melbourne. Lots of great musicians, and they were friends of friends, I think. And the bass player ended up being my roommate for a while. Like we lived together, and so it's all very interconnected.
That's awesome that it's such a rich music scene too.
Really
I feel like
great.
I live in Nashua, New Hampshire, and that was where I met all the members of the band that I'm in now, just at open mics and live shows, and even like bigger live shows that all the music lovers in the area would just go, and then you'd run into someone and be like, hey, didn't I see you at the open mic slamming guitar? Like, how are you? Like, let's chat. So it's really cool. What about you, Adrianna? How'd you find your band?
So I had a friend who said that he knows of these guys who get together and jam. And they had all kind of been in bands before, or, some of them still are. But it's like once a week, Tuesday night, it's at this guy's Jam Shack. And
Love a jam shack. Love a good jam shack.
Yes. And it's like 35, 40 minutes away from my house. And I was like, yeah, I'll go. Wouldn't be the first time I've been to a jam shack without knowing who the heck was there, which I've been lucky both times. So I went, and that's where I met my drummer, who it's his jam shack, and then yeah, we kind of like formed a band from then, I guess. So they weren't really like looking to form a band, but they were kind of like, I mean, we'll play with it. Like we'll, we'll do some shows with her, see like what happens. So yeah.
That's really cool. And how's the Rochester music scene? Is it also kind of very flourishing?
Yeah, I think it's really good. We have Eastman School of Music, through University of Rochester, which is really big for classical and I guess jazz too, I learned. But there's a lot of schools around the area with good music programs, and it feels like every bar, every restaurant has live music almost every night. Yep. So the community is really supportive, and yeah, there's been just, I don't know, a really good group of musicians coming out of Rochester. So yeah.
Cool. Mm-hmm. And how did you guys meet?
We just met like 2 days ago.
No.
Yeah. So we kind of got on this tour together.
Yeah. Oh, very cool.
So yeah, we just work with the same booking agent, and I was coming over, and I was like, I'd like to team up with another artist because it's my first time touring over here, and I didn't want to go out completely alone the first time and be showing up where nobody knows anything about me and I don't know anything about touring here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And yeah, she suggested Adrianna, and she put this
tour
together
so
for
fun.
us. So it was kind of crazy. Like we met on Saturday morning. Adrianna came and picked me up from the Airbnb where I just landed in Rochester like the day or two before. And got straight in the car and we drove like 6 hours that day to come and play our first show, and like I felt like we got to know each other pretty quickly.
Road tripping together.
Yeah.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. That's really fun, and I'm sure it makes it more fun for the two of you too. Because I mean, traveling. Like, what's the farthest you traveled for a show? Obviously, you've come to the States. I mean, if you're road tripping 6 hours for a show, that's a long ride. So having some company that's kind of like-minded is probably helpful to stay sane.
No, I'm really glad it worked out so well. I was like, I don't know who this person is. Maybe we're going to hate each other. But
you see her and you're like, oh, phew. It's going well. All right, this is going to be fun.
Going well.
This is going to be fun.
Very good. Very good.
We're only like 4 days in, so we'll see how it goes.
So far, so good.
Yeah, is this your first tour in the States? You said, but you've toured in Australia before. How long have you been,
I've done a lot of touring in Australia, like a long time.
Yeah, cool.
Maybe like. I guess I started playing shows maybe 10 years ago or something like that, and I've been touring a bit more kind of regularly over the last like 5 years or so, except for pandemic time. And I've done a bit of touring in Europe as well. I've been to the States once before for like some showcase stuff and some recording and things like that. But this is my first time getting on the road here.
Cool. What about yourself?
I've been to Toronto once for a show. But yeah, I've done some like little bit of touring last summer through kind of like the Midwest, like East Coast Midwest. And yeah, I played a couple of like weird one-off shows like in Chicago, like a wedding in Chicago. Booked this party band I was in, and I was like, "You guys don't have party bands out your way?" I was like,
"No, pack your bags."
Yeah, and I was like, "I'm not gonna argue. I'll pack my bags." But yeah, and then one weird one in Key West.
Oh wow!
Which again, I was like,
gorgeous.
Won't complain.
Yeah,
like kind of weird. But that was a cool spot too. But yeah, other than that, this is kind of like my second time being in this area and going, towards Ohio and west. But yeah, I don't know. I have a few more like this summer out this way again. So, but.
And the song that we're going to hear you do, is that going to be on the tour?
Yes, I will be playing that. This
you want to introduce?
Yes, this one's called Honey. And yeah, I hope you like it. I wrote it also beginning of the pandemic, alone in my room. And this was kind of like one of the first ones that I've kind of like written, I think, from the set that I play. It's the oldest one. And yeah, hope you like it.
Take a breath, honey, take a breath, honey. When you love on me, put your love on me. And I know it's hard sometimes to be alone at night, so won't you turn to me? Take a chance on me, share a little love with me. Oh, the pain of a crack in the heart can't be mended by the company of another. And the one who you love most, you ain't ready to forgive. And there's surely no forgetting the one who hurt you most. Take a breath, honey, take a breath, honey. When you love on me, put your love on me. And I know it's hard sometimes to be alone at night, so won't you turn to me? Take a chance on me, share a little love with me. Well, I recognize that sorrow, the kind that leaves you hollow. It's a shame to see you strain at the rate at which you self-deprecate. And although it doesn't mean as much, you're the sweetest song I've never sung. So I'm hoping for you, and I'm hoping for you, and I'm bound to fail. But I'm there for you, and I'm trying for you, and I'm bound for despair. Take a breath, honey, take a breath, honey. When you love on me, put your love on me. And I know it's hard sometimes to be alone at night, so won't you turn to me? Take a chance on me, share a little love with me.
How do either of you find how your writing style changes over time? Do you I know I have older songs that are on Spotify. Don't look at them.
Oh my God, I know.
They're cringy, but I like to see the progression my writing has taken. I've become much more eloquent and like am better at kind of conveying whatever emotion or situation I'm trying to portray. But have you done that kind of like retrospect look at your work to see how you've changed and how things have like kind of altered?
Yeah, there's been quite a shift for me as well. You know, definitely that transition of hopefully becoming a better songwriter over time the more you do it. But also, I guess I started out writing and recording in a very much like a folk singer-songwriter style. And I did a couple of EPs with very kind of acoustic instrument sounds. And the songs I was really going for that with the songwriting as well. And then it was actually, the pandemic again when I had a huge year of touring booked, but that all got cancelled. And I had like a minute to sit down and kind of be like, okay, like what do I want to do? What kind of music do I want to be making going forward?
Yep.
And, I've always loved indie pop, indie rock, different styles. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try my hand at like a little bit of a shift in genre. So I wrote a bunch of songs in a different style, started working with this producer who's done a lot of work in the real kind of pop space in Australia. And he helped me to sort of bring that vision to life a little more. And so it's kind of been an interesting journey and to really shift from one, genre space to another over
Yeah,
the last
yeah,
few years.
absolutely. What about yourself?
Yeah, I have some older stuff on Spotify too now at this point. And yeah, I know what you mean. It's like for me it feels like a whole different style now than what I
Yeah.
do, because I feel like back then I was trying to do more like pop or something,
Yeah.
and I don't think I'm that.
Yeah.
So now I like listen back, or like when it comes up and I'm like,
Yeah.
but also I feel like, I've had the thought of like, oh God, should it be up there? And people have been like, should it be up there? And I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, it shows I've done something, and it's
Yeah.
still
Part of
stuff
the
that
journey.
yeah.
And if you think about any artist you like too, one album more than likely does not sound like every single other album they've
Right.
ever,
Right.
people
And
change.
You
And as
wouldn't
they're
want it to sound the same,
exactly,
right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I have, I don't know if you guys like Lana Del Rey, but I am a Lana stan.
Okay.
I won't go into it right now, but I was reading an article that was like people were outraged about her last couple albums because they all sound the same, and I'm like, okay, well, what if her style changed? What if she's into this new writing style? Like, just sometimes letting artists just create what they want to create, and if you don't like it, then leave it, and if you do like it, then great, buy the album.
We were
Did you guys have this
literally
conversation
just
earlier?
on the way here.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not kidding you, 10 minutes
Right,
from
yeah.
here.
My Lana senses were tingling.
Because I'm like, everybody says she was snubbed for album of the year. Like, let's listen to this album,
Yeah.
like, in full.
I will
Yeah,
decide right
Yeah,
now.
we will tell you.
I'm like, come on.
No,
But yeah.
but that's one of the things we were saying, that like it would be so great to be where someone like Lana Del Rey is and have that like freedom to be like, you know what, I'm just gonna like do
I
something
said that.
totally different, and people are gonna listen to it.
Yeah.
So I can try out whatever I
To
feel
have that
like.
creative freedom
Yeah.
to be like, well, if you don't like it, I don't
care.
care.
This
Like,
is
I
what I
wrote
wanna
this
do
because
right
I
now.
wrote it. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's
And I
amazing.
said too, I was like, you know what I want the freedom to do? I want to be able to, on one album that you're gonna tour, right, have like a full string section on there,
Right.
and then the next song you got like a
Hip hop trap beat
Yeah.
I'm
underneath
like,
that.
how
Yeah.
do I? Because surely I'm like,
How do
I'm
you
lucky
tour
if I
that?
can bring
Yeah.
4 of us on the
Yeah.
road. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm like, how?
You
So
can do that if you're her, right? Yeah.
Power tour. Power tour.
I agree.
Yes.
Strongly.
Alana, thank you.
Actually, since we're on the topic, what are some artists that inspire you? Or is there any authors or artists that you really have found inspiration from, and have they changed over the years?
Yeah, definitely. We've talked about some of them already. Like, I think the first artist I really fell in love with, I think, from a songwriting perspective, were like Joni Mitchell, Bob Dylan. That really kind of 60s, 70s folk singer-songwriter, kind of school, and they were the artists that kind of made me want to start writing songs. I think that's how I found myself in
Bob
that
Dylan's a
folky
great place
world.
to start.
Yeah, like you can't go wrong
Songwriting
starting there,
icon.
right? Like
Yeah.
101. But at the same time, I was listening to, growing up, I was listening to like Regina Spektor, like Alanis
lovely.
Morissette was another big one for me that you mentioned.
I'm sad Max isn't here. He loves Regina Spektor.
She's so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's always kind of, been in the background for me as well. And then, more recently, I think artists like Phoebe Bridgers and Boy Genius, Sharon Van Etten, I'm a huge fan.
Oh, love. Yes, I agree.
So I think that's the kind of stuff that I feel like
Yep.
is influencing me a lot at the moment.
Very cool. Adrianna, what about you?
I feel like I always have like my top 3, which is Feist, Cat Power, and Brandy Carlisle.
Oh,
good top
yes.
The 3 of them,
Yeah.
I'm like, no matter what, those ones have always been consistent, like
Yeah.
for me, and so
Yeah.
so I'll stick with those 3.
I saw Brandy Carlisle live for the first time last summer.
Mhm.
I blubbered like a baby.
Do you know
It was
she's,
really unnecessary. Wait,
she's
what'd you say?
performed with Brandy Carlisle.
Have you really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing.
Just the one time.
Well, now you have to tell us about it,
Yeah.
obviously.
It was I know, it always sounds way bigger. Just you'll hear it. So
I'll decide. You tell
Yeah,
the
you
story,
tell.
okay?
so I know, because I'm always like, well, wait till you hear. But so I saw an Instagram post about how she puts on like these music festivals.
Yeah.
So there's like one in Mexico and there's one in Florida now. So it was the first time she did, which was last year, this festival in Florida for Mother's Day. So I saw an Instagram post that was like, if you want to sing with Brandy Carlisle, submit a video. you just need to
click.
Mhm. Go.
Yeah. And it was like, you could pick from this list of songs and like you could win a chance to like sing with her and the band. And I was like, huh? So, and it said in fine print, like, but you have to have a ticket to the festival. And I was like, well.
Lame, but okay.
I know. And I was like, well, what if I submit a video? And I'm like, on the off chance I am one of the selected few, I was like, well, then I could buy a
I'm
ticket.
about to do that, yeah.
So I submitted my video, and then I heard back, and they were like, you were one of the people chosen to sing with her.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
thought, okay, like, is this like a cardboard cutout and it's like a karaoke machine? Like, there's certainly no way.
Imposter syndrome
Yeah,
takes
yeah.
over. You're like,
Mhm.
this is a
This
scam.
is
Right, I'm like, there's absolutely no way. Because, like, that could go wrong in so many levels. Like, that
Yeah.
could just,
Yeah, it's
there's
very
so many
brave
ways.
move from her, actually.
Right. I'm like, what if I was a crazy person?
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know. Anyway, so it happened. And I, like, got on stage, and it was her and the band.
That is so cool.
good.
Yeah,
so
and
good.
I kept, like, the whole way there. I rolled a lot of quarters to get there. I rolled so many quarters. You have no idea. I'm like, this is the most expensive trip to Florida that anybody could take. But it was a good time. It was a good time. And I really thought, like, the whole way there, and ever since I heard, I was like, I'm definitely going to, like, probably pass out or choke, because I don't know about you guys, but I still, like, get nervous, especially when I'm by myself. I get nervous, like, at the start of a song, and then I'm like, okay, I'm doing it. And then I get really nervous again at the end of a song, because I'm like, oh God, this is it. You could mess it up right now. So I always, like, I don't know. Anyway, I get all shaky and stuff, but I thought for sure that's going to happen. And then it didn't, because I think I was on the verge of heat stroke. So I was like, score.
Yeah, perfect.
The
That's
want
what
to
you're
not
gonna do.
embarrass yourself overpowers the hives and the hot flash, and
Right.
you're like, I will persevere.
People watched the video knowing me and knowing that, and they were like, no, you seem so calm. Like, how are you so calm? And I go, I literally think I was, like, almost passed out. Like, it was so, I was
I
just
was actually
like,
halfway between life and death. I
Yeah.
was kind of in a limbo. So
I felt so euphoric. Like, just quite simply,
Right.
like, I was almost asleep. I was like, night, night.
at least there's photos, so you do have some memory of it.
I know.
That's amazing, though. That's really awesome. Actually, to build off of that, do either of you experience, you say you do, any sort of stage fright? Does it depend on the side of the audience? Does it depend on whether you're solo or with the band? What's any fears? Let's dig in.
Okay. I used to get like very bad stage fright when I was a kid, and I was learning music. I'd be getting up for my violin concerts as like a 10-year-old or whatever, and I'd be like shaking so hard that like I couldn't get the bow on the strings. So I think that was a good process, because I did that for a long time, and eventually sort of figured out how to that it wasn't never going to be the end of the world. Whatever happened was going to be okay. So I don't get too nervous these days, unless there's somebody I
Good, so
really
there's hope for me.
Yeah.
It does go away.
unless
Awesome.
there's somebody I really want to impress in the audience.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Or there's like a bunch of people, like friends and family in the audience. I
yeah.
get more nervous than if it's like
Oh,
I get
strangers.
more nervous with like 5 friends than I do with 200 strangers.
Because their opinion matters to you.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly.
I feel
Correct.
that. Yeah, I had a gig coming up, and I had told my coworkers about it, and they're like, "Oh, we should all go," and I was like, "No, you absolutely should not.
Yeah.
How rude! No, you
How
cannot be
dare you.
there."
I'll send you
How
some
dare
videos.
you.
after.
Yeah, I'll show you an Instagram clip, and that's all you're getting. Thank you very much. How about you? Do you find that it differs depending on the size of the gig or the band, full band, or is it just kind of like it comes when it comes?
Yeah, I'm way more comfortable with the band, like I feel like I've learned now that if I mess up the words, my brain somehow like stumbles into finding just words at least, or I'll go to a different
Cool.
verse and I'm
Okay.
like, sweet. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I've gotten over that fear, because that used to be really what would take me down internally. But so with a band, I feel way more at ease. But yeah, it's definitely way worse when I know people in the audience, because I know that after the show, I have to go up to them, and they are either going to lie to me,
Which you can always tell.
Yeah.
yeah,
You always
and I
tell.
would hate to have to make one of them lie, but yeah, either they're gonna lie to me or they're gonna have to be like, yeah, I mean, that was not your best.
Yeah.
Which is just nothing you ever want to hear.
Yeah.
And I
Or
found
they
too,
could truthfully say you were great.
Yeah.
That's another option.
yeah, but that's fewer and far
You probably were.
But I'm like, then that's the other thing though too, is like sometimes like, you know, I'll be trying to talk to people right before the show, and it's like my, you know, people I know, right? And I'm trying to talk to them and be a normal functioning human being.
Yeah.
But the whole time, like this happened a couple weekends ago, the whole time I was like still like looking around, like trying to see if I like remembered words and like the chords to things. And I just can't be present.
Yeah.
And they're like, are you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm just a little nervous. And they're like, oh, don't be nervous. You know everybody here.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
that's
that's
the
nice.
worst thing to say to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then they'll be like, and you're so good. You're always good. Like you never, and I'm like, even worse because
Yeah,
now I have this
yeah.
pressure. Or they'll be like, oh, have you heard her yet? You're gonna love it. Like you haven't heard her yet? Oh, this would be great, right? And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I'm like, we gotta bring the bar way down here.
Yeah.
It's such a mind game.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah, when
yeah.
I first started doing music, I always had to wear crew neck shirts because I would get hives all over my chest and it would look like I had a terrible rash. And then I remember one day in chorus, I got like the solo and I was like, no, I'm going to be confident. I'm going to wear a V-neck to school. And everyone was like, what's wrong with your chest? And I was like, oh, you mean these itchy, nasty hives? Just a little nerves. Just a little nerves. So at least that has gone away, but I do still get that fear of like, no matter, you know, how big the audience is, I'm always like, but what if you screw up? And then I'm like, shut up. Stop.
Yeah.
Like it's not going to matter. Everyone's going to forget about it by next week, even if I absolutely bombed because I'm not that important. No one's going to think about it for the next 2 years.
They're just songs. You
Yeah,
know? Like,
yeah. And I also am like, I wrote them. If you mess up, you need to work on that.
Yeah.
You wrote that.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell?
I know. Sometimes I'll forget the words to like the beginning of one of my songs, and I'll be like, and I'll just like keep going with the intro, and the band will be behind me. And every time I look at Chris, my bass player, and I go, and he, without fail, tells me the words. The first words. I'm like, how the heck
How do you know that?
And he's like,
I spent like hours
Yeah.
crafting. Yeah.
I'm like, I'm glad somebody knows the song.
Yeah.
You want to take the mic or what?
And that's why playing with a band is fun.
Yeah, I'm like, thank
somebody
God.
cover me.
For real.
Yeah. Speaking of, do you want to introduce your next song?
Yeah, this one, let's see. This one is called Mannequin. And it's kind of about, you know, playing a lot and wondering if people like you for you or just for the tunes, I guess. Which I feel like I haven't really encountered that much, but it's the idea.
No, I love the concept.
And it's kind of, one of my favorite songs is Stars by like Nina Simone. I love her version, but David Bowie, Janis Ian. And I think it's, from what I took away from the song, I'm pretty sure it's a very similar meaning. So, any hoodle. Yeah, this is Mannequin. Oh, I did it again.
We love it, any hoodle. That's awesome.
Seemed you'd only pay me mine when I played from time to time, so I wore my fingers down. Now I must confess, 'cause I should have known best, and even Dylan needs a rest. A hollowed out old mannequin and a puppet on a string I'll play for you. That's what I do for you. Well, there's a hole in my piano that I played for you. There's a gash in my guitar that I once strummed for you. And nothing could compare to the bite you took of mine. Let our heart know. I'll take to my grave all the promises we made by that piano. Ooh. If for now I see the eyes that rise as I go plucking this guitar. Ooh, till I'm a jukebox on a loop and a record on repeat I'll play for you. That's what I do for you. Well, there's a hole in my piano that I played for you. There's a gash in my guitar that I once strummed for you. And nothing could compare to the bite you took of my little heart. No. There's a hole in my piano that I play for you. There's a gash in my guitar that I once strummed for you. And nothing could compare to the bite you took of my little heart.
So I have to ask if you've ever had, and not a bad gig, but have you ever had a gig that kind of changed your perception of your music, whether someone was really moved by it and or something happened or the crowd didn't respond the way you were hoping or something that kind of made you step back and go like, whoa, live gigging is a whole beast?
That was a good question. You got any immediate answers to that?
Cat power. No, Brady
Yeah.
Carlisle.
I know, I was like, oh. Yeah, that one really was a goodie. That was
Yeah.
a goodie.
Mhm.
But not really like a gig, I guess. Just like a really cool thing where
Yeah.
I was like, but I think one where I was like, was, oh God, I already had it and I lost it.
I don't know. I can't think of like a really good example. I've definitely had those shows that like give you a whole new like lease on the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, really put that like spring in your step
Even
again,
a
you
good
know,
moment
like,
where like pure bliss on the stage, you almost come
Yes,
out of the
yeah.
trance and you're like, this is awesome.
Yeah, I was on tour in Germany last year and we did this like really intense run of 21 shows like back to back every single day or something like that. And it was my first time over there and there was a real mixed bag of shows and you know, some of them were really tiny and like hardly anybody came and some of them were pretty decent. It was okay. We got to the end of the run and like we were so tired and so exhausted. And the last show was this like little town in the middle of nowhere. And we showed up and it was this like huge venue, a huge, huge room. I'm like, oh no, this is going to be terrible. We're going to be like playing to 5 people in this huge room. It's going to be like really, really disheartening. But great sound system, beautiful setup, great lights. We're like, cool, you know, like we'll like pretend we're rock
Make
stars
it
for the
work.
night.
Yeah.
Anyway, you know, ended up playing the show and from out of nowhere in this tiny town, there was like 300 people there like that night. I'd never played in this town before. I was like, what are you all doing here? Like, where did you come from? And I think it was just like one of those shows that I was like, okay, great. Like, you know, people were out, they were dancing, they were like, you know, you're really getting into the music. And it was just a moment of being like, wow, this is super cool. I get to like come over the other side of the world to a place I've never been before and like play these songs that I wrote in my bedroom to all these strangers who seem to really like it.
I was going
like,
to say,
that's what it's all about.
playing
you know?
live for me, one of my favorite things is when people get up and start dancing. That makes me so happy.
Yes.
Drunk couples down in the front,
Yes.
boogieing down together. It just feels so wholesome. I'm like, hey, people like it. Like it feels really empowering.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
There was, I feel like I love that too. Like when people are really into it. And there was a gig I did like a long time ago at this point, and it was with a whole different band. But there was like a little girl and her grandma that were dancing.
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, I could not stop crying on stage. Like, I just thought it was the sweetest thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know, the most beautiful moment that like the little girl probably wasn't thinking at that point, but like probably down the line. Anyway, but I thought that was special, and that's also why I love like playing any show, because it will always be different, and there's always going to be different people there, and I'm always going to, you know, sing songs in a different order or mess something up in a different way or say something dumb. So I really enjoy that too, and but yeah. I think that was when I was like, oh, this is so cool. Like, not just special for me, but like so cool that people are enjoying, you know, the night or the day.
It's fulfilling too, just to know that you're up there and someone else is having a good time because of what you guys are doing and the environment that you're providing and everything. I have to ask on like a little more serious kind of like upkeep note, how do you take care of your voice? How do you maintain when you're traveling or when you're doing a lot of gigs and singing a lot? How do you take care of it? I would love to know.
It's really hard.
Need some help.
Yeah, it's a big challenge, you know, especially when you're doing this like back-to-back kind of shows. And like you're jet lagged, because I feel like the main thing for me is fatigue. When I'm tired, I really feel it in my voice. So, you know, just trying to get enough sleep, that's my number one thing, which is like just sometimes just not possible. So you just have to like accept that as well. But yeah, trying to like, you know, be smart about whether you are going to like stay out for another hour with the band after the show, or you're going to go back and like get that extra hour sleep. Other than that, you know, we were both talking about how it's like quite hard to eat well on the road. Yeah. And I think that like making an effort to like get your fruit and veggies in makes a big difference. Yeah, what else?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I've ever had so much tea in a row as these last few days. Because anytime I like look over her, she's having tea, I'm like, oh, good idea. I feel like I'm like,
me too.
I feel like I'm like following everything she does. I'm like, oh yeah, tea makes sense. Because I'm always like a coffee gal or like wine or beer. But she's over here having the tea, so I'm like, yeah, me too, and I'll have one as well. But yeah, I feel like sometimes I am, you know, sick, and it's always a cold, like head cold type thing. I have like asthma, so I'm always wheezing, and I'm always coughing. So sometimes, you know, that happens, and I just kind of like fight through it, honestly. Yeah. And other times I'm perfectly healthy, and it's usually when I don't have any shows. Yeah.
Classic.
Been that way my whole life. But my mom's like, I think you're doing it on purpose. And I'm like, yeah, clearly. Yeah. But I think we got to get throat coat tea. Yeah, we do. Yes. Because I used to drink that a lot for like, you know, musical theater and stuff. And
it's a good one.
Yeah, I think that could help. I had a show one day last summer, and I opened for Lyle Lovett, if you guys know. And he has like, he smelled of throat coat tea. And that was like, literally, I'm like, this smell is familiar. And then I looked over and I saw the tea. I'm like, it's throat coat tea. Yeah. So yeah, that was another moment where I was like, I bought a box. I'm like, I got to get some of that.
Yep. Yeah, we in high school, I was in a choir that kind of was like outside of the school, but it was all the students that went there, and we performed at Berkeley in a jazz competition. And my friend Rachel was sick, and she had a spoon and a whole jar of honey, and she was dripping it down the back of her throat. And I was like, does that work? And she's like, I don't know. Yeah. And now, still to this day, I'm like, I should probably have a little honey before I leave the house.
Have you ever had my friend back when we did theater, she had these like weird fisherman's friends.
Disgusting. But they work so good.
They do.
I would gag a little bit and be like, power through.
Ew. And it like, I swear to God, it stained your tongue. Like it was some weird like,
terrible orange color, not peppermint, not cherry, but like right in the middle. Two flavors that shouldn't be mixed. It's really atrocious.
That sounds terrible.
Wasn't it like, is
Not
there
interested.
actually fish oil in it? I'm pretty sure.
It might have been something
Oh.
like that, but it's great for the
Gross.
throat and it really works.
It
Okay.
works. It's
Um,
rancid and it works.
Yeah. I'm
Go do
gonna go
what
on
you gotta
Amazon and buy
do.
some after,
Yeah, you know what?
after we leave here.
They
I'm
got
like,
a
"Oh, I
vegan
should have
version?"
some of those actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, I mean, with traveling a lot and singing a lot too, your body can get really tired. So I'm sure, like, especially not being able to eat healthy, it's
Yeah.
like if you're getting fast food all the time. And I know myself, I love to socialize. So,
Yeah.
you know, deciding the gig's over, I'm going to pack up and go get some good sleep, or
Yeah.
I'm going to have one beer with the friends that came to see me and just
Sure.
say, you know, it's kind of hard to make that decision, I'm
It
sure.
is, yeah,
So,
it is.
yeah. What more stuff do you have in the works? Do you have any albums you're working on or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm writing for an album at the moment. So yeah, it's going to be like busy touring schedule for a little while. I'm here in the States playing through February, and then we're both heading to the Folk Alliance International Conference Festival in Kansas City, which happens at the end of the
Nice.
month. And then I'm heading down to South by Southwest in Austin, Texas in March. And I head home, like a bunch of touring for the next few months. So I'm trying to figure out where I can squeeze in the making of this new album, but
Yep.
It's going to happen. I'm going to start working on it over the next 3 or 4 months, and hopefully release something from it before the end of the year.
Yay. Like a single, just a little teaser?
Yes.
Okay.
I think I'll I have most of the songs, pretty much ready to go to record. And there's a couple I think that will work quite well as like singles to drip feed out before the full
Yeah.
thing comes out.
Oh, that's exciting. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah.
How about yourself?
I have one song right now that's ready to be released, but I kind of want to wait until I have more that are ready too,
Yep.
so that I can, not let any time go stale. But
Yeah.
but yeah, I have so many that I play out that I just haven't ever recorded.
Yep.
I haven't had the time, or like it's so expensive to do.
Yeah. Completely.
So yeah, I feel like I just play a lot of songs that you can't really access yet that are, polished and out there. But I do have some, so hopefully I'll make like an actual EP or full album soon, but I'm hoping for like fall maybe. I don't know.
I'm in the same spot right now where it's like I could record it myself. It's not going to come out nearly as good as I would like it to have, if it was done professionally. But I think there's maybe like 5 or 7 songs that are completely done. I'd like to have like, maybe 9 or 10 for a full album. And I'd love for it to be done professionally. My brother would do it, but he won't.
Yeah.
So, classic. I'm like, can you do it for free? He's like, no. And I was like, well,
come on.
that's really lame of you.
You're like, yeah, you guys could be like Billie Eilish and
Yeah.
You're like, don't you want to get him?
It's like I'm actually working on my own album, so I'm like, okay, well,
Pretty rude.
yeah,
Whatever.
How do you find navigating like social media and posting content kind of in this day and age? I know a lot of people to promote themselves use social media and like Instagram Reels and stuff like that. Do you find that easy? I find it so difficult to keep up with.
Yeah, I find it exhausting. Yeah, it's one of those things that if I have time to do it, I actually don't mind it. I kind of like trying to approach it with, a little bit of a creative mindset.
Playfulness.
And like, figure out ways to make it look beautiful or, fun or whatever. But what I don't like about it is that, there's this constant pressure to just like keep putting out content all the time.
Yeah.
And like when you're on the road or when you're recording or when you're just not in that headspace,
the last thing you want to be doing is on your phone.
Like
I
figuring
could be
out
sleeping or
exactly. So it's a lot of pressure to keep it up, and I think it's it doesn't always feel like the best use of your time as an artist.
Yeah, especially with the algorithms too. If you don't continuously post,
yeah.
just making one post doesn't really do
It
that
doesn't
much.
really
You got to
cut
build
it.
traction and get a following, and it's a lot to work
It's
on.
a lot.
I will follow you both on Instagram after we leave.
We'll follow you back.
What about yourself? How do you find navigating the kind of like Instagram, social media type of world?
Yeah, I hate it. I don't take pictures of myself. I don't have somebody following me with a professional camera doing it.
Yeah,
you know what I
helps.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it unless you're at that caliber. Like, I just don't get it. And I'm never doing anything that interesting. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, to post, I try to do a post after a show, thanking them and footage from it. And then I try to do like a Wednesday weekly. I've started to try to do. I just try to basically do like a, here's what's happening. Here's what I did this week. Here's what's coming up like this weekend.
Yeah.
So dumb. But
weekly update.
And it is. There's so much pressure because you yourself know, like, okay, I should be
really
posting
have to
something.
be.
Yeah.
But then I also have my mom who texts me all the time. Where's your post?
Oh my
Why aren't I
gosh.
seeing any? I'm like, so I think I'm gonna block her.
I think that's the only solution, actually.
I think I'm gonna block her. I'm like, I don't know. No, she's so supportive, but she's definitely
Keeping
always
her
on my
toes.
case.
Alex and I never post about our gigs, and his sister is kind of like our band manager, and she like made the Facebook page for us and kind of helps. And the other day I saw a post from our band page about our upcoming gig, and I said,
Who posted that?
I texted him, I said, did you post that? He's like, no, I thought you did. And I was like, Brandy.
Yeah.
She like literally has just stopped asking, and she
Yeah.
just goes on and posts.
Yes.
She's like, no, I know you that you won't do it. And
Somebody
I'm like, yeah,
has
because I
to.
get nervous
Oh
when
my
people come.
Yeah.
My mom's gonna figure out a way to do that because
Yeah.
she'll watch this. So she's gonna because she'll
Hack her Facebook.
Yeah.
She's gonna be like, you can do
She's gonna
that.
be your social media manager from now on. Watch out.
Yeah, yeah, she will. Except
Yeah.
for it'll be like videos like this, and it'll be like the zoom in, the zoom out, the focus.
Classic.
Yeah, it is hard to get like good video. The band that I joined recently, they are like best friends with a professional videographer and photographer, and he loves to just like, obviously not for free, but he very much enjoys following the band to the gigs, and like he'll come and record our practices for us, and he can kind of mix and master, so we have at least some scratch takes to be practicing to at home. And
Nice.
he filmed everything for the Tiny Desk, and we just got the video today, and like I have never had that good of a quality video taken of me
Right.
doing anything.
Yeah.
Normally it's from someone's cell phone in the
Mhm.
audience, or I set up my, front facing camera
Yeah,
on
yeah.
a tripod.
Mhm.
So it is cool to have that, but it is a lot of pressure to have to do it yourself. It's 10 times easier if someone's doing it. So
Yeah.
yeah. On that note, would you like to close us out with one last
Sure.
song?
All right. So this is a song called "The Runner." I've been like trying to figure out how to introduce this song here, because when I say it back home, in my accent, it's "The Runner." And I'm like, do people understand what I'm saying when I say that? Anyway, you guys let me know. Okay,
I can piece it together.
I can talk about it that way. Great. Good to know. Yeah, the challenges of touring internationally. Anyway, so it's a song called "The Runner." I accidentally wrote an EP of songs about, being a commitment phobe, and wanting to run away from like settling down in one place and getting too stuck in one thing. And this song is kind of, the epitome of that idea.
Yeah. Cool.
I'm awake all through the night, cortisol and blue light, searching for a cheap flight. Gotta get away before you come round asking for more. I can't give you what you're looking for. The more you need, the more I want to go. It's easier to leave than say so. 'Cause baby, I'm a runner. Baby, Thank you so much, everybody. My name is Anna Smyrk. It's been really fun to play for you tonight. Have a great one.
All right. So you are watching One Broadway, Performers on Performing. I was your host, Amanda Vantine. We have Adrianna Noone and Anna Smyrk. You can check out all their stuff. I did look them up on YouTube. You can find their stuff on YouTube. We'll keep an eye on what they're releasing on Spotify or any live gigs they're playing locally. If you're looking for any upcoming events at One Broadway, you can go to www.onebroadway.org. That's ONE Broadway.org. Thank you and have a wonderful night.